If you're over 50 and your makeup suddenly feels like it's highlighting every line instead of giving you that soft, lifted, elegant look, it's not your face. It's your routine. Your foundation, liner, brows and lips might be working against you in tiny ways. In this video, we're fixing 6 sneaky makeup habits that quietly age you and replacing them with simple switches that bring back a fresh, really expensive glow. Why your brows might be aging you. Let's start with the feature that quietly controls your whole face. Your brows. If you're over 50 and still doing your brows the way you did in your 30s, there's a good chance they're adding years instead of structure. Too dark, too skinny, or too sharply drawn brows can make every other part of your makeup look harsher. A very dark brow against softer, mature skin pulls all the focus upward in the wrong way. Instead of framing your eyes, it can make your expression look stern, even when you're perfectly relaxed. On the other end, a thin, overplucked brow can leave your face looking almost unfinished, which automatically reads as older and more tired. The goal now is not perfect Instagram brow, it's soft structure. You want a brow that quietly supports your features, not one that walks into the room before you do. That usually means choosing a shade 1 tone softer than your hair color, especially if you've gone grey or highlighted. Rather than filling in the entire brow from front to tail, think in terms of gaps, not blocks. Use light, short strokes to mimic real hairs only where you're sparse. Focus especially on the arch and the tail, because that's where a bit of fullness can create a gentle lifting effect around the eye. Then, instead of carving a sharp outline underneath, soften everything with a spoolie brush. This blurs any harsh lines and makes the pencil or powder blend into your natural hair. The result is a brow that still looks like you, just a bit more polished and lifted. If you like something simple and quick, a combo of a precise pencil and a tinted gel works beautifully. Something like the NYX Micro Brow Pencil and Glossier Boy Brow gives you hair-like strokes and soft hold without that stamped-on look. I'll have both linked in the description so you can check shades easily. The real test is this. When you step back from the mirror, do you see brows or do you see eyes? On mature faces, the most flattering brows almost disappear into the overall picture. They quietly frame your eyes and cheekbones without drawing attention to themselves. Once you soften and slightly thicken your shape, you'll notice your whole face looks more open, friendly, and modern before you've even touched your foundation. The concealer trick that's quietly aging your eyes. Let's move to the one product almost every woman over 50 leans on the most: concealer. If you feel like no matter what you do, your under eyes still look tired, puffy, or creased, the problem is often not how much you're using, but how light it is. For years, beauty magazines told us to go 2 shades lighter to brighten. On younger skin, you can sometimes get away with that. On mature skin, it turns into a spotlight. When your concealer is too bright compared to the rest of your face, it creates a harsh half moon under each eye. That sharp contrast actually emphasizes any hollows, puffiness, or fine lines, because the eye goes straight to the lightest point on your face. Instead of melting into your skin, it sits there as a separate layer, and our brains read that as fatigue, not freshness. The second issue is placement. A lot of women swipe a big triangle from the inner corner of the eye down to the cheek. Again, this was trendy years ago, but on mature faces, it means you're putting a lot of product right where the skin is thinnest and most mobile. Every time you blink, smile, or squint, that product has to move with the skin. If it can't, it cracks and gathers. So what actually looks elegant now? First, think tone before coverage. You want a concealer that's just slightly lighter than your foundation and much closer to your real skin color than you think. Even better if it has a hint of peach or neutral warmth to cancel darkness without going chalky. Second, change your shape. Instead of painting a big triangle, place a small dot where the darkness is deepest, usually right at the inner corner, and maybe a tiny bit along the shadow under the eye. Then gently tap it out with your fingertip or a soft sponge until the edges disappear into your base. You're not trying to erase every hint of depth. You're trying to soften the shadow so that people look at your eyes, not the product under them. Finally, go easy on powder. A heavy layer of powder to set concealer on mature skin can instantly age you 10 years. If you need to reduce creasing, use the tiniest amount on a small brush, just where concealer naturally folds, not all the way from lash line to cheekbone. Once you get the tone and placement right, you'll notice something surprising. You don't actually need as much concealer as you thought. And when your under eyes look quietly rested instead of over brightened, it sets you up perfectly for the next fix. The way you line your eyes so they lift your face instead of dragging it down. The eyeliner habit that makes your eyes look smaller. Lips are one of the first features to change with age, but they're also one of the easiest to update. The problem isn't that you can't wear lipstick anymore. It's that the way most women over 50 apply it quietly flattens the mouth and makes it look smaller and more lined. The first aging habit is skipping lip liner. In your 20s, you could swipe on a bullet and go. But once the natural border of the lips softens and tiny lines appear around the mouth, lipstick needs a bit of structure. Without that soft outline, colour can bleed and your natural shape gets lost. The second habit is going straight for very matte formulas. Flat, dry textures grab onto every little line and pull light into them instead of bouncing it away. The colour might be stunning, but the finish makes the lips look tighter, thinner, and more tired. A more flattering approach starts before colour. Make sure your lips are comfortable. A gentle balm or a little moisturizer wiped over the edges so the surface is smooth, not slick. Then use a neutral toned lip pencil close to your natural lip color, not dramatically darker. Gently trace along the border of your lips, focusing on the cupid's bow and outer corners, where shape tends to blur with age. You can cheat a millimeter upward or outward if you like, but keep it subtle. The goal is to restore the shape you had, not to draw an entirely new mouth. Next, choose textures that bring the lips back to life. Creams, satins, and soft gloss finishes reflect light, which instantly makes lips look fuller and fresher. You can still wear a classic red, rose, or berry. Just pick it in a formula with a bit of sheen rather than a flat matte. If you love the look of matte, try a hybrid approach. Apply a creamy lipstick first, then tap a tiny amount of powder just in the very center of the lips to reduce shine without drying everything out. When your lip color has a clear, soft outline and a touch of light bounce, it doesn't just make your mouth look better. It balances your brows, eyes, and cheeks and pulls the whole face together in that quietly polished, grown woman way that looks intentional, not overdone. Quick pause here. If this is helping you understand why your makeup stopped working the way it used to, go ahead and hit subscribe. It tells YouTube that women over 50 actually want smart, grown-up beauty advice, and it means you won't miss the rest of the tweaks that make your routine look softer and more lifted. Next, a habit that can age you faster than almost anything. A base that's simply too heavy for the skin you have now. Why heavy foundation makes you look older, not smoother. There's a moment for almost every woman over 50 where foundation suddenly stops being your friend. You put it on to even things out, but by lunchtime it's sitting in lines, clinging to dry patches, and making you look more tired than before you started. The instinct is usually, I must need more. More coverage, more layers, a thicker formula. But on mature skin, that extra product doesn't hide anything. It actually builds a mask on top of your features. So people see makeup first and you second. The big issue is that skin after 50 isn't one uniform surface anymore. You might have some redness, a few broken capillaries, age spots, and areas of dryness all at once. When you try to solve all of that with one heavy layer, the foundation has to stretch over fine lines, texture, and movement. That's when it cracks, cakes, and separates. The more flattering mindset is this: your skin doesn't need to be covered, it needs to be evened out. There's a big difference. Instead of reaching for full coverage, start with a light, hydrating base that behaves more like skincare than paint. Something sheer that lets your natural skin peek through will always look fresher, even if a bit of texture shows. Real skin with a few marks looks younger than a full flat mask. A great example is a tinted serum, like the L'Oreal True Match Hyaluronic Tinted Serum. It gives a gentle wash of colour, adds some hydration, and doesn't sit heavily on lines around the mouth or eyes. I'll have it linked in the description so you can check tones without guessing. When you apply, focus the product where you actually need it. Most of us have the most uneven tone through the centre of the face, around the nose, chin, and a bit on the cheeks. Start there with a small amount, then use whatever is left on your brush or sponge to soften it out toward the edges of the face. Leave the perimeter near the hairline and jaw lighter and more sheer. That little trick alone makes the face look more lifted and natural, as if the light is hitting your features from the right angles instead of sitting on top in a flat sheet. If you still see spots or redness after that first thin layer, don't pile on more foundation everywhere. Tap a tiny bit of concealer just on the areas that bother you. You're building coverage in targets, not all over. Powder is another place where less is more. A full matte face can read as dry and aging, even on oily skin. Try setting only where you truly need it, usually the sides of the nose, a bit on the forehead, and maybe the chin. Use a small, soft brush so you're not dusting a thick layer over everything you just did. When your base looks like skin again, everything else on top, your blush, bronzer, and highlight, sits better and looks more expensive. And once that canvas is lighter and fresher, the next thing that can quietly aid you is where you're actually placing that colour on your cheeks. Blush that quietly pulls your face down. Blush is supposed to be the most youthful step in your routine. It adds life, colour, and that healthy, just came in from a walk glow. But after 50, the way most of us were taught to apply it can actually drag our features down. For years, the standard advice was smile and pop blush right on the apples of your cheeks. On a young, very firm face that looks cute and round. On a mature face where cheeks naturally sit a little lower and there's less volume, colour placed too low can create a heavy patch in the centre of the face. Instead of lifting, it pulls everything downward. The eye follows colour. When the brightest colour on your face sits low and close to the nose, it draws the gaze toward the middle of your face and away from your eyes. That can exaggerate jowls, marionette lines, and any softening around the mouth. So what looks more elegant now? Start by relaxing your face in the mirror. Don't smile yet. Find the highest point of your cheekbone with your fingers, the place where bone sits just under the skin toward the outer part of your face. That's your new home base for blush. Instead of stamping colour right on the apple, place your blush slightly above where the cheek naturally rounds and slightly back toward the top of the ear. Then blend in small upward strokes. You're creating a soft diagonal that moves from the outer cheek up toward the temple, never down toward the mouth. The effect is subtle but powerful. The colour now acts like a built-in mini facelift, pulling the eye upward every time you move. Your face looks fresher, more sculpted, and yes, more expensive. Texture matters too. On mature skin, very dry, powdery blush can sit on top of fine lines and give a dusty, chalky look. Cream and liquid blushes melt into the skin and mirror the look of real flush. They're especially flattering if you deal with dryness or texture on the cheeks. You don't need a lot. Tap a small amount onto the back of your hand first, then pick it up with your fingers or a brush. Build slowly rather than going in heavy and trying to blend it away. If you like a polished look that lasts, one smart option is a cream and powder duo, like the Patrick to Major Headlines Double Take Blush. You can tap on the cream high on the cheek for a dewy base of colour. Then very lightly set the top with a touch of the matching powder where you want extra staying power. Colour choice is the final piece. Shades that mimic a natural flush, soft rose, peachy pink, or warm berry tend to be the most forgiving. Very bright, cool pinks or muddy browns can look harsh or dull on mature skin. Once you shift your blush higher and softer, you'll notice your whole face reads more lifted and awake, even on days when you're tired. And with your structure, base and colour working together, there's just one more area that can instantly date your look if you're not careful: the way you shape and finish your lips. How your lipstick is erasing your lip shape. Lips are one of the first features to change with age, but they're also one of the easiest to update. The problem isn't that you can't wear colour anymore, it's that the way most women over 50 apply lipstick quietly flattens the mouth and makes it look smaller and more lined. The first habit that ages you is skipping lip liner altogether. On a younger face, you can sometimes get away with swiping on a bullet and calling it a day, but once the natural border of the lips softens and tiny lines appear around the mouth, lipstick needs a bit of support. Without that soft outline, colour can bleed and the natural shape of your lips gets lost. The second habit is going straight for very matte formulas. Flat, dry textures grip every little line and pull light into them instead of bouncing it off. The result is a mouth that looks tighter, thinner and more tired, even if the colour itself is beautiful. A more flattering approach starts before you touch any colour. Make sure your lips are comfortable first. A gentle lip balm, a bit of moisturiser wiped over the edges, anything that softens but doesn't leave a greasy film. You want a smooth surface, not a slippery one. Then use a neutral toned lip pencil that's close to your natural lip colour, not wildly darker. Gently trace right along the border of your lips, focusing especially on the cupid's bow and the outer corners, where shape tends to blur with age. You can cheat upward or outward by a millimetre if you like, but keep it subtle. The goal is to restore the shape you used to have, not to draw a new mouth. After that, switch to textures that bring the lips back to life. Creams, satins, and soft gloss finishes reflect light and instantly make the lips look fuller and fresher. Even if you love a classic red or berry, choosing it in a slightly more luminous formula will be kinder on lines and texture. If you still like the look of matte, try a hybrid. Apply a creamy lipstick first, then tap a tiny amount of powder just in the very center of the lips to take down excess shine without drying everything out. When your lip color has a clear, soft outline and a bit of light bounce, it doesn't just make your mouth look better. It balances your brows, eyes, and cheeks and pulls the whole face together in that quietly polished, grown woman way that never tries too hard. Before you head off to wipe or redo anything, take a breath and decide which one tweak you're going to try first: brows, base, blush, or lips. Then come back and build from there. If this helped you feel more seen as a woman over 50, tap like and subscribe so you don't miss the next set of small upgrades. All the products and your free fashion guide are in the description, and the next video on your screen walks you through the outfit side so everything works together.